Does it usually take a long time when they call on? Oh yeah, it's really annoying, the system. I know what the.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit.
Hi, everyone. Eric Holt with IBM.
Hi, Eric. It's Patrick and Justin from Oopgo. How are you?
Hi, guys. Sorry I'm a little late. Nice to meet you.
No problem. Yeah, are you calling in directly, or do you have screen sharing access as well?
I got both, I think. I'm looking at the IBM site, so yeah. I think we're good. Yeah, I think I'm dialed in.
Okay. Where are you calling from, Eric?
I'm outside of Philadelphia when I'm home, which isn't often.
Okay.
How about you guys?
We're in La Jolla. It's north of San Diego in California.
I know it very well. Beautiful. Nice.
You know it very well. What's the weather like in Philly right now?
Well, yours is better. We are about 22 degrees and windy. So.
Oh, well, I'm from the Midwest, so I am definitely used to that weather very often.
There you go.
Now we're spot. All right. So first off, Eric, as an introduction, if you could tell us a little bit about what you do with IBM and what your objective is in having this meeting from our end. So.
Yeah, well, I'd be more than happy to give you an intro. I'll admit that I haven't, this is a rare case where I haven't had any sort of time to evaluate your services. I have a general idea, but I usually like to do a little digging prior to a call. I haven't been able to do that in this case. So I'm flying in a little blind, so hopefully we can, put that into perspective by the end of the call. So I work within our product strategy group inside EMM. Which is Enterprise Marketing Management IBM. So it's IBM's single, division / group that works with digital marketing, analytics, and everything in between. So I'm in the product strategy team. Within that product strategy team, I basically lead all third-party partnerships having to do with marketing services, technology, ISV type of relationships. So I can represent our interests across the brands within EMM. Those are Core Metrics, which is now digital analytics. That's Unica, which is now cross-channel. T-Leaf, which is a customer experience management play that was purchased by IBM about a year ago. And Demand Tech is also part of our suite, although I wouldn't feel comfortable representing them. They're a new acquisition. Pricing, product optimization, recommendation type of play. So that's where I sit. I'm usually, it's a global type of look. So really, at the highest level, really anyone who's looking to integrate with our EMM brands as holistically, would kind of come under my purview. Does that make sense?
All makes sense to me.
So.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind, maybe we can, certainly introduce yourselves, but and just in terms of role or whatever. But I think the most valuable thing for me to hear is just, whatever your elevator pitch is for a few minutes, and then we can certainly get into exactly, why you guys reached out, who you've spoken to prior, what you're interested in, and just kind of go organically from there.
Okay, great. Yeah, what we usually do, and I think is going to be just as suitable in this instance, is give about a 10 to 15-minute capability overview, showing a few internal views within our product, and from there kind of take a step back and discuss, in most cases we're talking about value added to a particular company. In yours, just discuss, points of interest mutually both ways. So.
Okay, great.
Okay. So we're a digital marketing intelligence company, and we have two primary assets we're dealing with, or value that we're providing. Number one is a analytics platform that we say captures the entire user experience, both from a data and visual perspective. The other product that we're going to be introducing here is digital competitive intelligence, which is essentially an index of the entire internet that we have access to come up with relevant business trends and understanding of the kind of tools that competition's using to get ahead in their business. So I'm going to be introducing the first 10 minutes our analytics product. I'm going to be running through it fairly quickly. Please interrupt me at any time, and that's where we're going. So from the analytics standpoint, our key differentiator from the traditional analytics sense is traditional analytics, you're on a web page. If you go from page to page, a data record is created for the transition between each page. So, you know, you're saying that Joe went from this site to this site at this time. When I click a new link, a new record is created. Traditionally, anything on the page end needs to kind of, you need to create a custom script or event if I want to also know when someone clicks on a particular element on the page. So what we're doing is we're capturing every action on the page. That includes keystrokes, mouse movement. It includes if you select a couple words and on your actual page, we are differentiating the fact that a selector was chosen. If you're within an individual form, each field is differentiated, so we're able to come up with algorithms to detect the speed someone had within fields, the mouse movement, time, and really combining these with all of the traditional analytics to be able to go across a page, session, or customer history level. So that's what we're doing from the data end, capturing the entire experience. Each is an individual queryable record. So also because I'm sure you're obviously very familiar with Tea Leaf, your brand. So we're capturing each of these in its own field, so you don't have to dig into the session to be able to pull it and to be able to play the record or data. So that's the one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is the session replay created based off of the data points. So we have a unified system. It's all one source. Every module we're going to be showing you here is all integrated from the same database. So what you're seeing is the recreation from the traffic. I'm just going to let it play for a few seconds just to understand what we're storing. And aside from the replay capability itself, something that we've put a lot of time into internally on our end is the usability to be able to recreate the experience from the customer eyes as accurately as possible. So when I click here at the button that's selected, what it's doing is it's changing to play the session at the same resolution as the client's computer. So in this case, if their computer was larger than the screen, it's going to max out the screen. If they came from a mobile phone, it's going to play at the same size and resolution as a mobile phone. We also have the capability for detail control over the individual session. You can play, you can pause, you can speed it up. So what I'm going to be showing you on this next page is a mobile-specific example that digs a little deeper. What's going to be represented on this page is the actual finger movements on a mobile phone recreated. And once again, everything you see here is also stored as an individual data record to be able to query on a longitudinal basis, to go back any past history, as well as anything from on a session-specific basis. So what we're going to be seeing here in blue and orange is the different finger points, touch points on a mobile phone. So yeah, pretty quick demo there. Point being, of course, that mobile, you know, everyone thinks they figured out mobile. No one's figured it out yet, particularly when it comes to usability, monetization, the best way to customize your offering for it. So it's something that's usually a particular interest to any website owner to try to delve deeper and even understand the psychology of, you know, how long are people engaging with their fingers on my site? Is it a good thing or a bad thing that they're spending 2 minutes moving around? Is their objective clear as they're visiting our website, etc. You have any questions at this point, Eric? You want me to keep running?
Yeah, keep running.
All right. So another big asset of our technology, aside from using it in traditional data analysis, is we're able to recreate. This example here is the recreation of live website traffic. So what this would be is if your site had 5 live visitors, you would be able to browse them all simultaneously. Aside from browsing them simultaneously, you could focus on an individual visitor, you could chat with them live or engage them directly, or you could set up a script to say, for instance, everyone who comes from China has made 3 purchases in the past. We're going to deliver specific content for that user session. What's relevant to note here is in this case, this example would be for 5 live users on a site. If you want to dig into any site-specific segment, such as if I'm a site that has 1,000 simultaneous visitors, I can dig and apply a live view to any segment within the analytics. So I can say, hey, I only want a live view for a visitor who's been here more than 5 times and has abandoned my site 3 times. I want to go live with him next time and pop up on this dashboard. So the point being is it's efficient analysis. Just because we're storing a lot of data, we're not looking to overload anyone on the front end. So aside from that, also all the modules we saw are all going to have the same usability integrated within. And from here, on any individual user, you can click View Details. And from that, we're going into this view shown here is created for every visitor on the website. So this by default is defined by IP address to denote an anonymous customer. Our system allows it to seamlessly integrate to be defined by IP or to integrate into any permission-based system, such as if you have a member ID or if you have any indicator of a particular visitor, that would be able to integrate directly. So this is the individual page view over the course of the session. This example wasn't great. There's only 1 page, but if there was 10 pages, you'd be able to scroll back and forth to get a panoramic view of that entire visit. Aside from that, on the top here is all of the past sessions associated with that customer, all from 1 page. So that gives companies the ability to seamlessly, if you say, for the sake of customer servicing, dispute resolution, etc., to seamlessly go back and forth and say, hey, your website, I didn't really do this on your website 2 sessions ago or last week, it's your guys' fault. You can seamlessly look at all of it from the same view without having to go back and forth from the customer servicing to the IT department. So, other note here, everything you see here, our system is, the data source is flexible enough where we can seamlessly change whatever your KPIs are within each view. If you want to look and change 2 pages to a different point of data, we can integrate that from that end. Other relevant point here on the bottom left is we try to, every view of our product, to show data as well, to not have to dig around to a lot of different tabs and dashboards to lay out the KPIs for each company can determine beforehand to be listed within each video view. So it's not only data and it's not only the playable end. From here, I'm just showing the step 1 of our dashboard. So, like traditional analytics, we have a starting dashboard for macro-based analysis. I'm just going to do a quick couple-minute demonstration from a usability perspective of the transition from the macro analytics view to the views that we showed before. So this example, we're just going to take a look at entry domains from Google from the main website. Every analytic within our system is strategically linked to our video replay. So in this case, I clicked on a specific segment. By default, I believe this is loading the session by, let me double check for the number. So what we're loading here is this is the session by session panoramic view. It's kind of the gateway between watching the videos and the macro analytics. So from here, we once again, we have data outlined by default. We have a tagging system and event tracking system, a few of those general integrations that would be listed in each case. So if I wanted to tag someone as a new or high-value user, I would be able to see them from this module. I'd be able to search for them, and I'd also be able to see them from the other views I showed before, including the tagging for this customer, as well as the tagging from the initial live view I'd shown. I'll get to that in a second. A lot of test stuff and stuff. So from here, what's unique about our systems, you can go from session-based analysis on that segment directly to page-by-page analysis, or you can go back to customer-by-customer analysis, which of course is going to be different numbers for each data set, and it's going to differ depending on if you want to take a look at usability. You might want to look at the page-by-page analysis. If you want to look at customer history or life cycle, you'd want to look at the customer analysis. And if you want to look at, the session-by-session basis, you'd use the traditional visitor analysis. So just kind of gives, like everything else we try to get across, we put a lot of time into the usability and into what you can see from these views. So from here, you can play the videos directly from this view without having to leave the screen. Or to bridge the gap of what was displayed before. If I want to take a look at this visitor's history, I click View Details. And from there, we open up the module that was displayed before. A few other technical notes of interest is if errors are detected on the page end, they are played accurately as well. On our end, we're not just taking a picture and keeping a static HTML or static image. We're storing the entire source code on every session and replaying it each time. So it's going to be accurate when it comes to viewports or when it comes to updates on the page users end as well. So. Just a couple other points. Eric, are you familiar with, I know obviously you're on the top level with these products. Are you familiar, do you use analytics yourself a lot? Are you pretty familiar with the inner workings such as tagging and conversion funnels and those kind of things?
I am.
Okay. In that case, I'm not going to dig through all the dashboard. Just a couple examples of what we think is value added when it comes to analysis. So conversion funnels, usual conversion funnel, the premise of it is, of course, to understand and try to perfect processes on your site. You're usually looking at a conversion funnel that says, for instance, why are people abandoning a sales process on a form when it really doesn't make sense? They've already spent 10 minutes filling out 4 pages. Now that they're on the 5th page to purchase, they're leaving the site. Usually, let's say you saw that 5 people had dropped out in that case. You need to kind of go back to the drawing board from a marketing perspective and say, okay, how do we make that number smaller? That's nice to see 5 people are listed there, but how do we know exactly what those people did? In our case, of course, all of our different traditional analytics modules are directly integrated with our video replay. It's not just from one particular view. So in this case, we were detecting errors on our end internally. So our tech guys tell us that I'm in our test environment. 1 second. Spoof. Yeah, I don't need to dig too deep, but the point being here is it's all strategically linked to the video view, so you can watch what happens individually. I think I'm still in testing view. We'll see. So that's it on that point. I think the last relevant module I'm going to show you, we usually don't dig too dirty when it comes to the reporting modules and all of the manipulation of data, is our tagging system that's integrated into every other module as well. Actually, while we're here, underneath here, it's worth noting, by default, we're also storing the form interaction on each page on a session-by-session basis with a lot of custom engagement analytics when it comes down to the macro analysis of a form, such as the time spent engaging. Really, we do this on a custom basis for clients. I can show you one example from here, what I'm referring to on the form end.
Collecting data in the field before they hit submit?
Correct. And this is all selective recording, I have to mention, to say is obviously legally we're not storing passwords, we're not storing financial information, and we're putting the liability of each client. We're putting the liability on each client to say what else are you not allowed to say, the liability's in your hands. So just going to bring up one example there. What we're trying to do in a lot of cases is bringing practicality to all this extra data. So I'm going to show you one example here. We had in this case, on the premise of a wealth management page, the bank's biggest struggle they were telling us that they wanted to upsell all of their business. They wanted to upsell their clients, but they weren't sure it was profitable internally to try to upsell each one, essentially. So what we had come up with on that end is they had a tab to choose the investable assets. In this case, we came up, we basically monitored the fact that if someone chose a higher number, then someone switched to a lower number, that means that they would be a better upsell target. Because if you're at a restaurant, you're ordering from a menu, and you order something for $20, then last second you change your mind and you order something for $10, there's a pretty good chance you have $20 in your pocket. So that was the rationale we used in customizing the form I'm showing before. So we tracked confidence level of how many choices were made before final entry, and I don't have access to it right now, but we also labeled each customer as worth upselling or not, where you could integrate, the message or the follow-up email in that case to be able to contact them. So, aside from this, I'll show one more view. I think we're good. This other view here, we're also labeling on each individual field on the cases where it's abandoned. So if someone didn't click submit, we're storing it as abandoned. If they did click submit, of course, we would output what they actually did. So, last thing I'm going to show, once again, I got that off track there, is the tagging section, just to show kind of how we do things. You want to give a tag title. We use a color-based system for tagging. The reason we do this is, number one, you have a lot of options, and number two, most importantly, it gives you a clear view from each different angle, usability-wise, to, I'm going to reopen up the live view. It gives you a clear view as opposed to reading a lot of data to be able to segment and identify traffic in a very efficient way, in our opinion. So our tagging view, it's chosen by color. You can choose, it's integrated with our conversion funnels, but you can basically choose any data we store to define the tag. And we have a built-in what we call visitor value index system, which allows companies to define a unique value for each action displayed on their website. So an example here, a pretty broad tag worth looking at. We can apply no value each time. We can apply a value only once, which may be worthwhile for customers from a particular demographic. You wouldn't want their value to increase each time they visit, but once you kind of wanted to know that, hey, these Canadians in our case are more valuable. And of course, we can define this value to increase on every occurrence of this event. So if that wanted to be customized to retail's sales made or any high value action on a site, the visitor's value would increment each time they make that decision, and they have flexibility to define the value. I'm not going to show it too many angles, but the visitor value is also listed. This demo example has none, but by default it would show from all the other modules and views, the customer recordings, you have the value as well as the tagging always shown. So that's the simplest way to use our data. So this tagging is also how we would integrate any build where we would want to attach it to any scripting or pushing of content or a pop-up on every 5 visits. The tagging module is kind of the master behind all that internally. I'm going to take a breath now, Eric. If before I show the competitive intelligence end, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Yep.
You're all good? All right, great. So I've concluded the analytics demo on the competitive intelligence premise. So what we've done as a company the last 5 years, we did a lot of our research studying into how Google ranks, how Bing works, taking a look at digging really deep into their site, all the links, how it's working when it comes down to indexing information and outputting it. The last few years we've been building our own internal index where we've been indexing every site on the internet. About a year ago, we finally hit what we considered our practical wall. So we have approximately 160 million. Google, we have a pretty good estimate, has approximately 30 million domains in their index. Are you familiar with Alexa, Eric?
Yeah, certainly.
So Alexa, last I heard, has around in the 30 million range. On our end, we have approximately 160 million. We went to a few sources and pretty aggressive algorithms to capture the data. So our big pitch is we have the index of the internet that lets companies come up with macro-based patterns at their own we have it all in the database. So in this example here, if keyword Boston, we defined keyword. We didn't define it as meta keyword or anything traditional. We defined it as, we're going to define keyword, in our case, as the usage of each word at least 3 times within the text of the body only. So, we're able to query this information on the fly and give it to website owners to let them do industry-based analysis. And in this note too, this Sitealytics, we did this internally, our research, we did this with about 80 different websites. Our big priority was that our database itself was completely flexible and dynamic and able to work with websites in any different patterns that we choose, more than, in this case, this is a test website, more than trying to turn our Sitealytics into an Alexa, so to speak. So, practical deliverability of that, currently how we have it set up is you have a list of competitors, and by default the traffic rank, I believe, is the average of Alexa, Quantcast, maybe one more other increment. We have the social media information from the big 4 currently, and we have performance here listed as defaults. So if you want to choose a few competitors on a website and you click compare sites, this kind of gives you a comparison graph and chart of your website versus your competitors. This is the kind of the small business, non-advanced view. We're still working on developing an easier way to do this to be able to use our whole source. But for the time being, what we're able to do, an example, a deliverable for an enterprise company, we would customize this internally, take us an average of 5 hours per site, where you guys, for instance, would choose key competitors. You would choose how often you want to check the information. So let's say in this case it was once a week. We'd be checking on the traffic rank, and longitudinally we'd be looking at if your competitor went up 40% in traffic over the last week, and you happen to see that they had 50 million more Facebook likes, it's obviously worth taking a closer look to see that there's probably a correlation there. So let's take a look at the technique or strategy that they used and possibly do the same thing. We have sales headline listed here. I mean, essentially, we're storing the source code. So when it comes to same sales headline, if our website usually has it in the H1 tag in the header, if we have it in the H2, we would tag that on that particular website and recheck that each time to define whether it's the headline. Other example in this case is industry-wise. We'd sit down with a company and define what their industry is, based on what metric. Are you only looking at your top 5 competitors? Do you want to only look at people who've raised in traffic the last few months? And then the industry end, this all comes down to automated awareness into your competition. So if you want to take a look at jQuery has been used with 4% of our competitors over the last week. Images have been optimized more often. The average page load speed for our competitors, and we also can do this on a global basis. That's something that hurts my tongue to go through how these come up. But the bigger, for someone like you, Eric, the bigger premise of it is we have that in a source and we can manipulate the data. So that's it on my end, Eric. We want any questions? Not from yours. No, Justin, do you have anything to add, by the way, before I jump in?
It's a lot like to introduce myself earlier.
Okay. Hey, go
Eric,
for it, man.
This is Justin Versuter. I lead the technical front for everything that you've seen so far. So if you have any technical-based questions or wondering how it's possible, how we do it, etc., I'd be happy to answer those questions as well.
Cool. Thanks, Justin. Yeah. Well, I guess what do you think my first question is going to be? It's going to be this: how is this wholly different than tea leaf? So very cool. I like it. How would so I put tea leaf in a corner and I put you guys in the other corner? What do I need to understand in terms of the differences?
From a technical level, it's tea leaf's on the intranet level, on basically they're right on the wire, so to speak.
Yep.
Whereas
yep.
we're on the web front. So
yep.
On that level, everything that we do is JavaScript-based tagging.
Okay.
That's the biggest technical difference, of course.
Yeah. I guess from yeah, that's helpful. Well, I'll just cut it there. I mean, obviously you have to be in this. I mean, you put yourself in that category, right? I mean, though, of qualitative digital analytics, right? The why versus the exactly why the numbers are showing what they're showing, and certainly supporting that with the replay capability and what you're doing. So again, I just obviously very familiar with T-Leaf, and it certainly feels very complementary to that. So that's what I'm thinking when you're going through this. As you can imagine, from an IBM perspective, as we go on this digital marketing journey, I mean that the core metrics is the quantitative, really commoditized web analytics, enterprise analytics. That's there, and you can see why a valuable layer like T-Leaf on top of a core metrics or supporting it offers a much different layer, and certainly the reasons why IBM was interested in it. Certainly some of the challenges of on-premise versus SaaS with T-Leaf makes it challenging from an integration standpoint. So there's that, but certainly certainly understand how you guys are looking at that. So,
Eric, if you don't mind if I add something on that end. So
please.
These are broad. He wanted to, of course, the technical differentiation doing it. Aside from that, I mean, T-Leaf themselves, we've had pitches with all of our competitors as companies. They're not, in your case, you're integrating it with core metrics, but they're not an analytics product. They're used more for qualitative analysis and error discovery. And
yep.
In our case, we kind of tried to integrate it all into the analytics dashboard. So when we talk about the tagging, we talk about all the other data. We integrated it, and usability-wise, I think is our biggest differentiator. If you'd notice, of course, T-Leaf was made, in '99. It's very user-friendly for someone with a lot of technical background. Where in our case, we've tried to, when we talked about strategically linking from every level from these views, people assume the core recreation technology is the asset, but this live capability, multiple session watching simultaneously, this hasn't been done before, including on this, T-Leaf, you have to select each individual session or look at it on a session-by-session basis. So that's the only, we're not going to dig deep in this conversation here, but the views we showed before here of just kind of having a very practical usage to be able to use by, Carly, the 22-year-old sales rep at Meyer, to do her customer servicing and discussion as well. So that's just, a very broad answer to that question. So
yep. So makes sense. I'm a pretty straightforward guy. So what's your interest then with EMM and IBM? I mean, where do you see this product being? I guess what's the intention here, other than just having a chat? And do you feel like there's some level of interoperability with the T-Leaf that you'd like to walk down, like an ISV type of arrangement, or is there something separate from that? Just help me understand what your thoughts are there.
I mean, our general thoughts are, of course there's interest. When you guys are out there, I'm not familiar, you guys have 85 billion different products doing little niches here and there. So that question, I would say there's interest on our end anytime. We've talked to a couple of the other big guys, so to speak, as of late. We're a very fairly new company. We've only launched our product publicly for the last 3 months. But we've been working on this technology for about 7 or 8 years here. So, I mean, on our end, it comes down to my step one discovery was chatting with someone like you, and then thinking the question maybe appropriately on your end to know how things work, internally. I don't know how your guys' internal structure works in any capacity. So.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think it's very, so there's two. I'll keep this quick because I do have a hard stop in a few minutes, but I appreciate the demo. I think here's what would be valuable for you, right? So anytime a service like yours, anytime a service from the outside is hitting very close to the vest, which this is with T-Leaf. Now, I understand some of the differences, and obviously I know T-Leaf's roadmap of optimizing, certain areas and improving and things of that nature. It's very, very close to what T-Leaf is, either doing or could do, and I'm sure you realize that better than I do. So when that's the case, it obviously makes it very difficult to have any sort of, formal arrangement between the outfits. IBM just doesn't, there's certainly a level of co-opetition. In some cases, depending on the service, partnerships can mean a million different things. They can, it can be something as simple as co-marketing. It can be something as simple as a certain level collusion with data. It could be something as advanced as porting data from one system to the other and actually having single sign-on, whatever, and a million things in between. I think with something like this, though, with T-Leaf, and T-Leaf's just cutting over to IBM, they'd be very skittish about even considering it because of where it's at. Now, but what I would say to you, and I think this is probably the main action item, if you feel, or if you're able to present how you think your service with T-Leaf together can provide some different level of value to a shared customer, a customer that uses your service and a customer that potentially uses T-Leaf, and what does that look like and why is it valuable? That I'd be interested in seeing. But obviously from a partner hook-in perspective, we have tremendous amount of these boxes checked off with T-Leaf, although I understand that there probably are some differences, and I'm sure you guys should be really proud of what you've built here. But that's as straightforward as I think I could be here on a first chat. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, of course, especially when we're doing this. I speak pretty fast here running through these. When we're doing this entry-level discussion, the differentiators don't fly out. So only other question I'd have as well as note, that's one reason we delved into the mobile a bit particularly, because I haven't used ClickTail's new mobile module. I just read what I can. As far as I know, when it comes down to storing and particularly differentiating the different finger points, that is something on our end that has not been done before, regardless of T-Leaf or ClickTail's, the other mainstream company, in the same realm. But it's hard to differentiate unless you're on these products using them every single day, But from our end, we kind of know from, what we would guess taking a look at what we can see. So.
Well, the other thing, I'm glad you mentioned ClickTail. I mean, ClickTail is a partner of Core Metrics. ClickTail certifies their tags into the Core Metrics tag container solution called DDX, or Digital Data Exchange. And, because they are, ClickTail certainly competitive with T-Leaf, that's really the only angle only real partner angle that we wanted to take with them. I mean, if you guys are interested in going down kind of a tag certification type of play with digital analytics or Core Metrics, that might be a way to get you into the IBM ecosystem. If there's a shared customer, a customer that uses Core Metrics, customer that uses your service, you can deploy your tags through this interface. That might be a nice, kind of small win for you. I don't know. Glad you mentioned ClickTail, because that certainly jogged my memory about that particular angle. So there could be something there.
Is there any interest or point of intrigue on your end from the competitive intelligence standpoint, Eric? I mean, the long story short of it, internally, we have a very flexible database that's, grabbing new domains for competitive trends, but we haven't finished the point of polish for the enterprise level when it comes to the front-end module. We haven't, a couple simple. Is that something that in your mind is kind of an outlier in this discussion? Because of course, as a company,
I think it becomes something that might be the, most realistic if it's, it would be outside of my wheelhouse, but I'd love to have more information on it so I can, have our, if it's product marketing or certainly our EMM marketing folks, understand that. I think, we're obviously, it's a critical component of any business, but I think if you can kind of showcase those abilities, maybe in a separate email, I think it's something definitely to look at.
Okay. All right, so potential next step. Like I said, this isn't our normal meeting. It's usually going through the website and talking about how we're going to add value on that individually. So a next step on our end, is it worthwhile for us to talk again, or for someone, like you said, relevant to schedule a tentative follow-up to perhaps even dig deeper? We can differentiate against ClickTail for quite a while because it's open source. T-Leaf, it's kind of apples and oranges in case when you talk networking, but just to understand some of the deeper depths of, the usability differentiators. Is that something worthwhile on our end from you personally, Eric, or what do you think?
No, I don't. I think what would be anything's valuable. I think what would be most valuable for me, if in order to, give this any sort of additional touch, would be, understanding that IBM has T-Leaf in its portfolio. Okay, what how can you offer additional benefit syncing up with a T-Leaf? Because we have, T-Leaf has arrangements with iPerceptions and 4C and an Opinion Lab. I mean, all of it are similar in some way. I'm not painting you in a corner. I know that there are differences. But, we're looking at it as, T-Leaf was an asset that we've purchased, and now we're going to grow that asset out into all these different areas and some other ones and hook them in with IBM stuff, and that's the approach. But so I think for you, just as it relates to T-Leaf, is that can a T-Leaf joint solution, is that even valuable, and why would that be valuable from your perspective? And maybe another, so that's probably the main one. Maybe the other one is, how does it, doing the same exercise with the core metrics, traditional web analytics outfit. Again, we can do something like tag certification, which gets you guys into the IBM Business Partner Network, which might be valuable for you as you're kind of on this journey. But short of that, it's very close to the vest, and I think because of it, it's just going to limit the opportunity. Just being, you're going to get that everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, obviously. It all makes perfect sense on the front end. So,
yeah.
So our next step in that case, it sounds like, would be sending you directly information with the focus on complementary to T-Leaf. I might throw in a couple differentiators if it's worthwhile that we didn't get to dig into, and then introducing the competitive intelligence in a more concise way to forward to someone else. Is that the summary?
Yeah, I mean, and I'll look at, yeah, I mean, because I sit in the product strategy group with EMM, so we're adjacent to product marketing and everyone else that marketing communications, anyone that's going to have a competitive look, expose them to the concept. We'd be more than happy to do that. So make it as as concise and palatable as you can. And then I would also encourage you, just like I would anyone who's working with a big company, to make as many IBM touches as you can, other than me, right? So anyone that you meet, feel free to drop my name, tell them we talked. Cultivate that relationship. The more ins you have, the better off you'll be. So, this conversation could be a nice, whatever you got out of it, hopefully it's valuable. Take that and, continue on. But feel free, I would encourage you to, anytime you meet someone from IBM to try to cultivate that if you feel like there's value, and feel free to throw this conversation in.
All right, I appreciate that, Eric, and we definitely enjoyed chatting with you. Appreciate insight from anyone within the industry. And Justin, do you have anything to add? Or?
No, I just appreciate the upfront, statements that you made and the insight that you gave. Put it in perspective. What's approachable going forward with DCI, very specifically the competitive intelligence.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you guys can do that, I'd be more than happy to at least take it a step further on my side. But I appreciate you showing me the product. Very cool stuff, guys.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Nice talking to you, Eric, and we'll get something to you within the next week. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Look forward to it. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Summary.
Critique on your end, Arnab?
What's that?
Critique on your end. Go ahead.
Well, it was, I think it was good, and he scanned it. He's, just direct. Obviously, T-Leaf, they are looking into it. So when he said certification of the tax certification, you didn't ask any more questions. Do you know exactly what that includes or what it entitles?
I know that it means basically it says that we're an official partner with IBM.
Yeah, but tag certification.
No, it means that we have to sync up our data sources for tagging specific elements of our product. It doesn't mean that we just become a partner magically. There's a lot of...
No, I know.
Okay. So does it mean we have to apply to become customers of IBM to get certification with, say, tag certification, whatever, with IBM, or is it something that just means that we open up basically so people who are using core metrics can share or can tag, some of the information if they have both products running. This is
It's
how I
basically
understood it.
the way he phrased it was co-opetition, so you're cooperating with your competition and basically saying, okay, I understand that someone's using core metrics. They're not willing to part ways with that investment. So let's
Right.
do what we can to integrate our system with theirs and facilitate both in a mutual beneficial relationship. Omniture does the same thing with tag certification, so you can sync up with their tags as well.
So this is, so this means that this is the way that when we say if someone has Omniture or core metrics, basically this is an addition, but to be able to utilize, when we say we can integrate it, this is what he's talking about, to facilitate basically, so technologically there are no barriers. The people from IBM will allow basically the exchange, opening up basically